Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday Rando Show. And we're here with Graham. What's your last name, Graham?
Hi, Graham Snyder.
Graham Snyder. Graham is here to teach us about geomancy. Now, Graham, let's get to know you for a second. How long have you been an astrologer?
Sure. I started studying astrology in 2018, so about 7 years. And I started doing geomancy about a year and a half ago.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So where have you studied astrology?
In 2020, I did the STA course, the Horary Practitioner course. It's like a 5 month training. So that's my kind of general background with astrology is in Renaissance horary. Um,
That's with Deborah Holding and Wade Caves.
mhm.
Okay. So then do
Lately.
you actually practice horary?
Yeah, I do. I've been seeing clients for about the past year and a half. I most of the horary I do either for myself or for clients is most of the charts I do are horary charts. I do work with natal charts and do natal readings, but horary is my kind of go-to thing.
Okay, interesting. So is it because it's divination or why do you like horary?
I kind of feel like it's like an action chart. It's I think of it as like if a birth chart is like an oil painting, it's like delicate and intricate. A horary chart feels much more like a short film. It's very kind of snappy and yeah, it's very kind of the moment. And I don't know, I feel like natal charts are great for like self-reflection, which is obviously important, but horary kind of lets you kind of like engage with a question or engage with the moment. And yeah, I really like there's something kinetic I like about that.
Hmm. Now, do you do natal charts or do you only do horary?
No, I look at natal charts. I do. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, okay. So it's like you just like the kind of momentary short horary look into the chart, but you also look at a natal and do you do all kinds of divination or
I do. So I have a couple other systems I use. I've been kind of folding in. I was exclusively doing horary as divination for about, yeah, maybe 5 years there. But yeah, I recently kind of folded in. I read Lenormand cards, and I also started recently with I Ching. But the thing I'm here to talk about today, geomancy, is this other system that I really kind of fallen in love with. I think it's like a really powerful, eloquent kind of like a way of doing divination that I wish more people knew about.
okay. So let's see. I have to ask, what are Lenormand cards?
Oh yeah, so they're from sort of like Revolutionary era France. They're named after this woman, Marie-Anne Lenormand, who was like she's like the Miss Cleo of the Napoleonic era. She didn't actually create the cards. They're based on a game system from the 1840s, but it's named after her, and it's kind of like if you think of like tarot is like because it's kind of very operatic, kind of like loud symbolism. Lenormand is like very quiet symbolism. It's like the house, the letter, the dog.
Hmm.
But I feel like it's very conversational. It's very I don't know. It just I really vibe with it. Also, it has playing card insets that are kind of like part of the system that it's kind of like two divination systems in one. It's kind
Hmm.
of fun.
So is it less mean than tarot? Like, does it have less
No,
swords?
it can be mean. It can be very mean.
Um,
It's still got the scythe and the whip, and it's there's the the coffin. So it's got a lot of the same themes, but yeah, it's just a different tone maybe.
Okay, interesting. Do all, I mean, I guess all divination forms can be mean because, like, even in a horary chart, you could be like, no, you won't get what you want.
Absolutely. Saturn is always there, Mars is always there.
Okay, interesting. All right, so get ready for a really mean episode. No, I'm just kidding.
Arr.
Okay, so tell us, what is geomancy?
Okay, so yeah, geomancy is a practice that kind of came about in North Africa in about the ninth century, and it's sort of a combination of like different cultures combining their divinatory systems together. So it's this kind of unique fusion that's really cool and spread into medieval Europe in like the 1100s. And yeah, so you find different variants of it like around the world. And it's a really cool uh, system. So the idea is like the name geomancy comes from writing in the earth. So like literally the science of reading the earth. But what it looks like in practice is like a binary system. There's like 16 binary figures. We call the geometric figures, and you kind of combine them together and create like a shield chart that's like a it's sort of an elaborate way of answering a question, and it takes on a lot of the symbolism from traditional astrology. So like all the house system associations are virtually identical with astrology. So it's kind of like a sister science to astrology.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I swear I vaguely heard of geomancy, but I don't know that I've ever met an astrologer who does geomancy. So now do you do it along with a chart reading, or is it totally separate?
I've done both. Yeah, right now my practice tends to be I do four divination readings in one.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a lot. But yeah, I think it definitely lends itself to being read with other systems, but it definitely I feel like it definitely has its own voice and its own kind of like symbolic register.
What happens if the divination systems get different answers?
Um, they do sometimes, but you'd be surprised. A lot of times, all four come back almost virtually the same,
Oh,
and I
really?
don't I don't know why.
Huh.
But sometimes they do say different things. I kind of feel like it's like if you were to ask a question to four different people you were like mentors or. So it they might come back with the same answer but in a different voice,
Mhm.
or you might hear it very differently. You might even hear it as like the opposite answer, but maybe on a certain level, maybe it's kind of the same answer.
Interesting. If you look right here, that's where everyone is
Okay.
in that spot right
Oh,
there.
sorry. Yeah,
You
I'm
can
looking
look
all over.
you can look wherever you want, but that's where they will be looking at you. Okay, so let's see what a geomancy grid looks like.
Yeah. Okay. I have an example one here. So this is what a blank geomancy chart looks like. I'm not sure that shows up on the screen very well.
Okay, there we go.
So that's a blank one. It's
This thing right here.
mhm.
Okay.
So the top 8 rows here, reading right to left, because it's coming from an Arabic tradition, um, are the first 8 houses of the chart.
Okay.
And when you put in the figures there, you can combine them to get the ninth, 10th, 11th, and 12th houses. And then there's 3 more sectors down here called the right witness, the left witness, and the judge. And so for like a super simple geomancy reading, you figure out, okay, what's the figure for the judge? And then based on that symbolism, that's your answer. But you can go real deep on it too. There's many methods that kind of traverse all around the different houses. And if you're asking about a specific thing like got a problem with my horse, that's like a 12th house issue. You go to the figure in that house. There's many different methods to go about it. I really like how kind of embodied it feels like.
So like if you're asking about the second money issue, you go
Yeah.
to this little you do like throw runes in there or something like that, or like how do you get stuff in the houses?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, okay, traditionally, the way it started in the beginning was that the geomancer would have their client draw 16 lines in the sand of like various numbers of dots, and they would count the dots. Okay, are they even or odd? And based on whether it's even or odd, you put a figure into the chart. I have a kind of example here of like what some geometric figures look like. But every geometric figure is 4 lines of either 1 dot or 2 dots.
Okay.
So here's like this is the figure for Amicio, which is the Latin name. It basically means like loss.
Wait, which figure?
Oh, this green one here.
Wait, this right here?
No, no,
Oh, this
the 4
this
lines of
whole
dots.
thing is a figure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So okay, so you got the 1 dot, 2, 1, and 2. And so that one's is associated with the planet Venus. It also has significations that are similar to Taurus and the second house. It's not a 12-letter alphabet thing, but because geomancy is its own separate system, the symbolism does kind of merge together. So in my astrology, I don't conflate those things, but in geomancy, they do kind of blend together. So every geometric figure has 4 lines. The top is a fire line, an air line, a water line, and an earth line. And
Interesting.
yeah, and the beautiful thing about the system is you can combine them together. So if you have, say, a Missio here and Albus here, Albus is associated with peace, the color white. Is generally kind of seen as like an intellectual figure. It's associated with Gemini and with the third house.
Okay.
So you combine loss and peace, and you get another figure here, Letitia, which means joy, and it's associated with Jupiter and Pisces. And so if you'll notice that, like, if you're coming from an astrology background, a lot of these significations don't always seem to make. It's not like a one-for-one correspondence. It's not like, oh, geomancy says this, but then I got to read my astrology differently. They're separate systems.
Okay. So Jupiter and geomancy means something kind of different than Jupiter in astrology.
Well, Jupiter's still Jupiter. I mean, the planet Jupiter and the archetype and that is still there, but the way it's interpreted in the two, actually, down here I also have the other two Jupiter geometric figures. So you have Letitia up here, which is like Pisces, and Acquisitio, which kind of means gain, which is associated with Sagittarius. So these two, I drew them in blue to kind of make them, so they're kind of like the same planet. They're both Jupiter, aspects of the Jupiterian archetype.
Interesting. So then how do these figures end up in the boxes?
Yeah, okay. So the way I do it, you can do it a lot of different ways. Some people flip a coin 16 times. That's totally valid. That's how I started. But my method nowadays, I use dice. I really like using colored dice that are kind of in the shape. So in Plato, in the Timaeus, which I know you just did a class on.
Yes.
He associates different geometric figures with different elemental with
the platonic solids.
Yeah, the platonic solids with the elements. So I went out and I got some dice where the color matched the element, matched the. Okay, so we got the tetrahedron for fire. I couldn't get red. It's kind of pink. The octahedron for air, which is yellow. The icosahedron, which is blue for water, and the cube for earth, which is green. And this is just a me thing. This isn't geomancy in the tradition at all, but I got a dodecahedron dice
for the ether.
Yeah, I was like, I need to use that somehow. So I use it. I just roll it as like an emphasis dice. So I roll once for the house and once for the sign, and then I figure out, okay, where in my shield chart is that, if it shows up at all, if that geometric figure's in there, I'll maybe pay a little more attention to that. Anyway, that part's just me, but yeah. But generally, if you use any method to get 16 numbers, and whether those numbers are even or odd, you place one dot or two dots in your geometric shield chart. So the first four boxes, the first four houses, you fill up with those that you generate in some randomly generated way.
So it doesn't matter how you get the odd or even. It could be a random generator on your phone. It could be like asking a little kid on the bus. It could be anything.
Absolutely.
Anything random element generator where you find odd or even.
Absolutely.
Values.
Yeah, in that sense, it travels well. You can do it any way you have available.
Interesting. Okay.
So yeah, that's how you get the first four figures. And then this part might be a little hard to explain on video, but yeah, you just hold it up. So that gives you the first four figures here. Then you read across. So all the top lines, the fire lines for each of those four figures, you read as the fifth figure. Then all four air lines going down as the sixth, all four water lines as the seventh, all four earth lines as the eighth. So that gives you what's called the four mothers and the four daughters. And then for these other four boxes down below, the four nieces, you combine the two together. So you say you have the first figure and the second figure, you can add them up. And it's this might sound like a lot of math. It's not. It's as simple as adding single digit numbers. So for this one, I've the example of, if you're adding Emissio and Albus, 1 + 2 is odd, it's 1. 2 plus 2 is even, it's 2. 1 plus 1 is even, so 2. And 2 plus 2 is even, so it's 2. So in that way, you can generate any of the 16 figures from any other by combining 2 together.
Interesting. Okay. Wow, very binary. Lots of ones and twos, lots of odds and evens.
But what's cool about it is too is that they are binary and like mathematical, but I feel like they're also kind of like ensouled and embodied. Like the spirit of each geometric figure has so much kind of like what I associate with like this artistic kind of right-brained kind of like association with it. It's not just math.
Interesting. Yeah. So, because each figure has a meaning. Once you use the math to get the meaning, but then you have the figure which means something. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. What is this down here?
Oh, sorry, that's for a different thing. That's for
Okay.
that's for my Lenormand doing the Lenormand readings.
Okay.
But so the other thing you can do with a geometric chart, the shield chart is great, but another way to do it that I like a lot is what's called a square chart. This is how most astrology charts were drawn before computers, or really before the 20th century, because squares are easier to draw than circles, by hand anyway. So this is like a traditional square chart with the ascendant and the first house being on the side.
So this is like a Vedic chart kind of.
Yeah, you see a lot of Vedic charts are represented this way still.
But I guess in the medieval times they draw it square.
Yeah, most of like William Lilly and like those kind of folks that all drew their astrology charts this way.
Okay.
Well, actually, that's not quite true. They had a bunch of different ways they drew it.
Okay.
This is one very popular way. But yeah, so you put your geometric figures in. So like the first house goes in the first house, and then second, third, fourth, fifth, all the way around to 12th. And then the right witness, left witness, and judge can go in the middle. And there's another figure that sometimes if you get an answer that seems kind of discordant, like that doesn't really make sense in this situation. You can combine the judge figure with the figure of the first house, and that gives you another hidden 16th figure that's you can call it like the reconciler of the chart. And
seems like cheating.
It is cheating.
Oh my God.
You got to build cheating into your system.
Okay. That is so not kosher. I only do kosher geomancy without the 16th figure. Okay. Anyway, okay, so what can you ask geomancy? I can ask like any question, like did I marry Graham?
You can ask anything you want, anything very very practical. Should I buy this car? Is this person I'm going on a date with, are they cool, or is there some, and that can give you like a lot of answers that are very kind of like it gives you a lot of nuance. It can do.
Is it only yes or no answers, or can you answer questions like should I buy the red car, should I buy the green car?
That's a little trickier. I feel like different divination systems kind of lend themselves to those kind of questions. I tend not to do either or questions because that can be a little bit hard to interpret. But I would ask one for one and then do a whole nother geometric chart for the other one.
Okay. Can you ask it what's going on with my boyfriend?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it can give you more information than just yes or no.
Oh, completely. Yeah, it can be very psychological. It's all the archetypes that like an astrological chart can give you. Geomancy can do it has a similar range. I kind of feel like the energy of it is a little bit more, I think of it as kind of like grandfatherly, like kind of think of like Aesop's fables, it's this very kind of simple wisdom, kind of like wisdom of the ages kind of stuff. Astrology can be a little bit more sassy. I feel like, there could be a little bit more it could joke around a little bit more. Geomancy feels a little bit more serious, but but I feel like it does give like really clear-cut answers. Sometimes it might be a little bit too blunt, but it's clear.
So is it the combination of the 16 figures in a certain, because I know with tarot cards they say it's like the tarot cards aren't just, these solo pieces, they work together to create a message. Do you feel like the actual, pattern of the imagery together makes a message for you kind of thing?
Yeah, I don't that's interesting. Not so much. I feel like with geomancy it's all about the place. Where does the figure show up? So if it's in the quadrant for the judge, like that's like kind of like the basic answer to the question. But yeah, depending on where the thing shows up. What's cool about Geomancy, unlike most other divination systems like tarot, you can get the same figure multiple times in a chart. Like in a square chart, you could have like one like I have this happen a lot. Populus, was like one that for Cancer, shows up like 8 times, and like why is it showing up everywhere? And there's ways to interpret that are kind of similar to astrology. You can kind of think of it as like a trine or a sextile or a conjunction.
Hmm.
Um, uh, yeah. So sometimes you get messages where it's like some one theme is like kind of overwhelming, and it's like it's sort of hard to ignore.
Interesting.
Um,
Wait, I know that you're not supposed to talk about this on air, but how much do you charge for a geomancy reading?
um, $80.
80
That's
bucks.
yeah. I People tell me I should charge more. I'm like, I want to keep it like at a level where I want people to engage with it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But that's why I don't charge a lot for astrology readings because I like to do more readings than, like if you charge
Yeah.
too much, you get like one reading a year or something like that. Like, yeah.
That's no fun. Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah. Well, okay.
So how long is a reading? Like, is it like they ask a question, then you do the chart when they're not there, or do you do it right in front of their face?
The way I know a lot of people are very different about this. I tend to just do it right there. If someone's patient, it's like, hey, give me, 5, 10 minutes. Usually I'm doing all 4 divination systems at once, so that can take up to about 20 minutes. So like if we're somewhere where like, say we're at a bar, it's like, okay, I'll go get a drink, I'll go do this and come back and we'll talk about it. I tend to be very like in the moment like that. I know there's like astrologers who like, I'll get back to you tomorrow or, a week from now. I tend to like, I kind of feel like because so much of divination is about the moment of the question, answering it kind of as soon as possible is kind of like, I feel like best practice is,
Yeah, like when they say strike when the iron's hot.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, the
Yeah.
moment might have changed by the time you get the answer, and it's like, oh, well, that would have been helpful.
Oh yeah, interesting. Well, because a lot of times when people are asking divination question, they're like, "Should I buy this car?" It's like they need the divination like right now. They don't
Yeah.
wanna wait for it and kind of thing. So okay, so you had some. Well, anything else you want to tell me before we go to your notes?
No,
Okay. So Graham has a bunch of notes for us. And he said he didn't want to lecture us, but I said that would be very much okay if you lectured us since we are a school.
yeah. Well, I have a bit of like the kind of historical background about geomancy and where it came from.
All right, tell us.
Okay, so at least in Europe, a lot of geomancy came into the after the fall of the Western Roman Empire. There was kind of like a blackout on a lot of knowledge from the ancient world in Europe. But a lot of it came back in through translation efforts in Spain. So we actually have records about like when geomancy came in the 1130s in Barcelona. There was this one translator, Plato of Tivoli, who was like really, so he was an Italian guy, but working in Barcelona and translating a lot of these Arabic texts. So, and in the same moment, a lot of astrology also came in. So, like stuff about the astrolabe and like how to do like mechanical calculation of charts and things got a lot more sophisticated in the European context. And of course, in the Islamic world, geomancy had been around for centuries and had been very popular. Um, and that in itself is kind of an interesting story. It's a combination of different divination systems. So yeah, the Arab conquest in the 7th century, and by about the 9th century, uh, you had all these like kind of colonized cultures that were fusing with the dominant Arab culture at the time, and so geomancy seems to have come out of like a fusion of kind of like North African Berber culture, uh, Arabic culture from the Arabian Peninsula, and also other like West African divination. So yeah, there's this kind of weird fusing moment, very much like in Hellenistic astrology, where we get the horoscope, right? Is from fusing, Egyptian star lore with Babylonian star lore. You
Right.
fuse them together, and all of a sudden we've got a new technology that's like really cool.
Fascinating. I love that portion of the lecture. Yeah, so that's cool to get some history. So this is African infused.
It's very African.
African.
Yeah. And there are other okay, so
Ah,
oh,
sorry.
oh gosh. Yeah, so you will find like there's
That was a good omen, by the
oh, yeah, be careful.
way.
Uh,
All omens are good omens to me.
okay.
That's like my form of narcissism. It's divination narcissism. No, I'm just kidding.
Everything must be an oven. It could be. It could
And
be.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
This
Um,
card, that means I'm gonna die really, really long from now. No, I don't know. Okay, sorry. Comic break, comic break.
it could be. It could be.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, just okay. One thing to note about Geomancy is it does have other traditions that are historically related to it, but are very separate. So, there's one tradition that comes out of like Yoruba culture called Ifa, which is historically related to geomancy, but has been developed and it's this whole other thing. And that's kind of a closed system. You have to be involved in that to do it. So
What do you mean? Like you have to be an initiate kind of thing?
yeah, I think so. I mean, that's I'm not an expert about that, but I just that's yeah, it's just one of those things to know about. And it's like, okay, but don't conflate that. It's they're related, but they're not the same. But you will see a lot of traditions around the world that are related to like geomancy as it was centuries ago. So like apparently in Madagascar there's this system called Sikidi, which is like very similar to our Renaissance geomancy. They're like very close.
Hmm.
And you'll find other traditions around like the Indian Ocean. And yeah, so
Fascinating. It's so interesting to think that divination exists in all like many cultures. Like I think like to a little side note, but I think the word aura exists in 92 languages or something like that. And then when you look at like divination as existing in all these cultures, it's like it seems like a fundamental part of humans to want to have a random content generator inform their future, you know?
it's a human doing thing. I think you're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird. Yeah,
Okay.
I love that.
Well, fascinating. I love that historical piece. That's really cool. Okay. What do you got next on your list?
Oh yeah, on my list. Let's see.
Graham's our geomancy professor.
Oh my, okay. Yeah, okay. It's a language of binary symbols. You talked a little bit about how to
Does
create
it
a
have
chart.
to be binary? No, I'm just kidding. Is there non-binary
Non-binary
geomancy?
geomancy. I feel like that might break the system. I don't know.
Oh my
I
God.
feel like you could definitely do a queer reading of your geomancy chart, and that would be, like use some alternative significations, but
Yeah.
that's not me. I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah. My symbols have like 3 to 2,000 characters in each one.
Oh, dang. Okay.
No.
Oh, well, that's what something to talk about. Like I Ching, like superficially looks very much like geomancy. It's 6 lines of like, broken or unbroken lines.
Yeah.
So that's also binary, but I think that's kind of where the overlap ends. They're really, really different. As someone who's recently started practicing with I Ching, it's whereas I'm trying to say more it's supposed to be more like I Ching. Um, uh, but yeah, the significations are very different. The method of doing it feels different. Yeah,
Hmm.
the whole kind of right-brained kind of side of that experience is completely
Interesting.
worlds apart.
Your life must be randomly generated in many ways because you practice so much divination.
I'm a little bit random, yeah.
So okay, yeah, that'd be a good episode. Is like, how does a randomly generated life look different than a mind controlled like molded life?
Well, it's funny. I've been reading a lot of like sort of biographies of like mid 20th century people, and there was a big movement to use specifically like the I Ching in a lot of decision making at that time. That like it seems like in culture that's kind of not so prevalent anymore. But reading about people's lives who have like based so much of it in that method, it's yeah, it definitely creates like a different life, a different kind of life experience. I think people, I don't know if it's more chaotic or more, um, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think you could make the case that if you have, let's say you have a goal and you're working towards a goal and you keep letting divination inform your goal, it becomes a little bit, I mean, in manifestation theory, you're supposed to hold a vision for a goal and like go towards that vision. But if you constantly let like what is going to happen with my goal and what like it does seem like a less like really hard hitting goal oriented life because you letting like people inform it, you know?
I think, yeah, there's definitely a way to like overdo it with divination. Like, don't don't base every decision, oh, should I leave the door at this time or that time? And like, there's ways to like drive yourself crazy with it. Don't do that.
Yeah.
But I do think like, especially with when you've got like a big life decision or something, the other thing too is you can ignore a divination reading. If you get a geomancy reading and you don't like the answer, you don't have to listen to it.
That's true.
We live in a world free, we have free will. We could do what we want,
Yeah, debatable. No, I'm
uh,
just kidding.
true,
No,
true.
that's actually a super debate in astrology, right? Is the fate free will question. But
Yeah.
yeah, okay, interesting. Okay, okay.
Well, my sense of horror, so from a horror background, I kind of feel like the purpose of horror is to enhance your free will. Like
Wow.
it's very easy to kind of feel like you're stuck in like a fated universe and everything that happens to me it was meant to happen and it was written in the stars millennia ago and it's like, well, I don't know. I kind of think like if you can read a chart, you can change your future.
Yeah,
Is
interesting.
that too controversial?
Well, I always go back with the fate free will thing. It's like I always go back to the serenity prayer. I'm like, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, which would be the fate,
Right.
the courage to change the things I can, which is your free will, and the wisdom to know the difference. I mean, I think, life is a series of fates and free wills, and
Yeah.
but yeah, I think don't be floppy doppy with your divination informing like don't ask for a random content generator when you really don't want something to be random.
Well, that's the thing too, is like if you get a bad answer, it's like, I think the good faith thing to do with that is to follow it and be like, oh shit, so you had to go into a question like with real stakes. Yeah, yeah,
The good faith answers to follow the divination. That's like if you're being a good divination sub, you will
uh,
no, I don't know. Dominate your divination. No. Well, that actually kind of takes away like the glory of the divination if you tried to just dominate the answer because you're letting something inform your experience. And I mean, I think it's really fun. Like in D&D, there's moments where you roll the dice for things like perception check or am I going to hit this dragon? And that is the moment of divination in D&D, right? Like,
I love that.
and
Yeah.
so it's like I think if you use divination like wisely and not correctly, but if you use it at moments where a random informer would really enhance the storyline, then it's like the most beautiful thing.
I love that. So yeah, you can see your divination as like, what'd you call it? An inspiration check? Oh,
Perception check?
perception check. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds exactly like that's kind of what it is. It's like it's okay, let me tap into the universe real quick. What's the universe saying? And then you can move on with your day, you can ignore it, whatever. But like
Yeah, interesting.
it's just a way to tap in, I think.
Yeah, I think when clients give divination too much power, they say like, well, the card said blah blah blah, so I have to do blah blah. In some ways, that's giving away too much agency to divination. I mean, we have to keep it like that's why I think Vedius Valens said like you shouldn't get a hold of these books unless you're already an initiate of Hellenistic or of astrology, and also you should have a sound mind. He talks a lot about that in the books. Like only a person of sound mind should be able to have astrology, and I think that's because he was looking at the length of life calculation, which is a divination saying how long you're going to live, right? And
Yep,
it's like,
I don't do that.
yeah, so I do think if you are going to use divination, like have a sound mind about you, which is to be strong of purpose, and then have some divination peppered on top.
Yeah. I like to think, okay, when a client comes to me, first of all, they're paying me money, so it limits the amount. I'm not having someone come to me every day and like, Graham, what should I do for this? What should I do for that? But it's usually it's for something that's really kind of weighing on them or is like a pressing concern. But yeah, I think that's
Well,
and they don't have to listen to me. That's the other part.
Well, that's actually a really good point. Like when do you go to the Oracle of Delphi, when you have a pressing concern that you almost like want to ask God in a second, like,
Yeah.
God, what is your will for me in buying this Subaru, or really it's usually more important things than that, right? But it's
Yeah.
like I like that when you consult the Oracle, it's like when you really don't know and you really would like an oracular response.
Absolutely. It's funny you should bring up the Oracle of Delphi. I was recently reading about, so there was the main Oracle there that like you would get like a conversational reading that was like they would tell you some cryptic thing but there was a different divination method they used at the Oracle of Delphi called the two being a consideration of the two beings, which we historically we don't know what that was. But it's in the literature about Delphi. I kind of think symbolically about the way I do geomancy is like okay, I'm kind of considering the two beads or the four stones or whatever, it's not historically linked, just to be clear. But I think symbolically on like a thematic level, I like to think of it as like kind of like going to the Oracle at Delphi or something.
Well, it's interesting. Your job as a diviner then would be number one to get out of the way of the message, right?
Yeah.
Part of the diviner's work and muscle that they have to hold is space for the answer, no matter what it is, right? Like, so it's like I worked as a psychic in my 20s, and I really didn't like the role of being a psychic because you get a vision and you can't really describe what it is or why it's coming through, but you just have to hold space for this weird vision that is coming through. And I feel like good diviners have the muscle where they can be okay with a vague response or a response that was not what was hoped for, or like, so there is a muscle of divining, and it's not about being right or wrong. It's like in some ways the divination is like what I would call a poetic text of like now the person gets to interpret what that text said and what the divination response was, and they get to like weave it into their life story. And I think so I'm impressed by the fact that you take on divining. I mean, I look at Wade Caves doing all those horrors. I'm just like, wow, your divination muscles must be strong because it takes a lot to hold space for divination.
It does. Yeah. I'm not sure how Wade does it. I kind of feel like it definitely, yeah, you have to kind of like let a message come through, but also you also can't avoid interpretation on some level. So I think there's a kind of a balance there between like how much is it you're as the person doing the thing, you have to give the message. So however you do it will involve some interpretation, but how much of that is coming from the thing versus coming from your own internal. I think that has to do with a lot of self-work and kind of like
Well, yeah, like the other work of a diviner would be kind of a clean vessel with not a lot of like tainted mean use because like if you
yeah.
took two different charts on the same, let's say we got the same mathematics and geomancy, and we had you and I both looked at it from a divining perspective, like the state of our heart and our spirit would inform the message. Like if I'm a mean, scared person, I'd be like, oh no, you got the two 16 dot things and like you're screwed. Like, I could be that kind of diviner, but I think a good diviner is also clean of heart and like has scoured their psyche to keep it healthy.
Yeah, well, and actually, that's one of the things about geomancy that's a little bit different. So if you do like a tarot reading or read playing cards or Lenormand cards, those combinations, that's so many, cards, multiplied together. It's this astronomical number. It's 10 to the 40 or something, huge. Geomancy only has about 65,000 possible shield charts. It's 16 to the power of 4.
Wow.
So it's you can only get a it doesn't that sounds like a lot, but it's actually not very much comparatively. And so really a lot of answers are kind of set. It's you
Oh,
add
really?
two figures together, they always create the same third figure.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
very like
So there's less interpretation by the diviner.
yeah, in that sense it feels more objective. I still think the message you give from interpreting the symbols is still very subjective, but
Well, do you think there's like a bedside manner
yeah,
involved?
yeah, I think it's important to kind of have like a calm here. Yeah,
Yeah,
kind of like,
interesting.
be friendly and don't scare people.
Unless that's the message.
Maybe they, yeah, yeah.
Okay, what's next on your list?
Oh, okay. Oh, my phone. Um, well, oh, I just want to say, well, about a note about how I learned it. There's one really great book about geomancy that I kind of go back to. Oh, my notes app was typing what I was saying.
Oh, wow.
Oh. um, let me go back to this. Okay. Yeah, I really like John Michael Greer's book. It's called I have it here, the art and practice of geomancy. I read a little bit more since then, but honestly, that was a one-stop shop. That's where I learned like 60% of like
Oh, wow.
everything I do with geomancy. It really is like a very and I think he did a lot of the historical work of like kind of like resurfacing this knowledge that was very prominent in like, the 17th century and earlier. but had kind of like fallen out of the culture, or had been like taken up by Golden Dawn, but in a very kind of mechanical way. And I feel like he brought back a lot of that kind of like interpretive nuance to it. It's really
So it's
cool.
called the art of geomancy.
The art and practice of geomancy.
The art and practice. I wonder if that's available like on
Yeah, I think I found it
Amazon.
on bookshop.org.
Oh, bookshop. Okay, bookshop.org. Okay, the art and practice of geomancy.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, cool. So how long does it take someone to learn geomancy?
Honestly, it's really easy. I feel like it's kind of like chess. You know, it's one of these things you can learn how to play chess in an afternoon. You know, you just learn all 6 different kinds of pieces. They move this way, but it's like a lifetime of like becoming like a chess master. You know, like that's a whole different story. Geomancy is very similar. It's like you can learn what the figures mean and how to add them together, how to create a chart. I mean, you know, I think it took me a couple of weeks to kind of get really kind of like comfortable with knowing how to do that. But yeah, the practice of actually doing it and like interpreting is the hard part. So yeah, it's in that sense, it's very easy. It's
Is there like a booklet with it, like a tarot deck?
um oh no, I mean I read that book, the John Michael Greer book.
So there's not like I mean, there's not like a booklet that has like a cookbook for like each set of
Oh,
64,000.
I've never seen something like that. No, I think there used to, I mean, that used to be a thing where people used to interpret that way. I don't like that because it feels a little bit too rote. But yeah, I guess you could do that. As like a cheat sheet. But honestly, that feels like too much work. That's like
Well, how many geomancy readings have you done?
um oh God, probably 100?
Oh, 100. Wow.
I don't know.
How often do you do them for yourself?
Oh, maybe like one a week. I don't know. Not for, I try not to, you know, like not every day, but I do tend to use the planetary day and hour. That feels like a kind of important part of the system. Or rather, it's not specifically in, you don't have to do that, but I like that as kind of an interpretive kind of like if I want kind of a mercurial answer, I'll do it on, you know, the Mercury hour on a Wednesday. But
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay. What else you got for us?
Well, what else? You talk about where it comes from, how to do it. Uh, we could do one if you want.
Sure.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I actually drew out a template ahead of time. So, if you do you have like a question for me?
Let's say, should it be a yes or no question, or can it be any question?
It can be anything. It's better if it's not yes or no.
Okay. Let's say, how can the Moira Press studio thrive in 2025?
Okay. I'm gonna just write, how can Moira thrive in 2025?
Yeah. And that question kind of rhymes, so that's cool.
Yeah.
I broke the leg of this horse. It's a good omen.
Oh no. Something about Sagittarius. I don't know. All right. So I'm gonna roll my 4 dice here.
Okay.
I'm not sure we can see it on the screen. Okay. So we got 3, 5, 15, 1. Okay. Oop. Oh, I got my dice out from under there. Um 1, 4, 1, 1. And again, you can use any method to do this. I like this method because it reminds me of like the symbolism and signification of what I'm doing. Okay, 3, 6, 2, 5.
Are you gonna roll your ether dice?
Yeah, if you want. 2, 3, 8, 2. Okay, and then we'll do one for the house, 10th house. Oh, it's very, very appropriate. And a 9 for Sagittarius. So, oh, we talked about horses. Oh my
Okay.
goodness. Okay, so I'm gonna write that in over here. 10H Sagittarius. So we'll see if the sign for acquisitio, this one over here, if this one here, if that comes up in the reading, that will be very important.
Okay.
Okay, so and then the next thing I do, I kind of drew out a little template here ahead of time. So the idea is you draw your shield chart. Um, and I feel like in any divination system, there's kind of a meditative quality to it, especially if you're doing like I Ching with like yarrow stocks. It takes about half an hour, and it's I think giving the divination time to happen, there's something kind of fruitful in just kind of like sitting with it. And uh yeah, I like
It's like
that.
some people say if you draw astrological charts by hand, like that it kind of soaks in and you get more out of it.
I think so. I think there's something about human effort. Like it just makes it yeah, feel more resonant.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so our first figure here, we got 3, 5, 15, 1. So that's all odd. So we'll give this one figure. There's 4 single dots, and that
Show them the
oh,
dots.
okay. Up. Here we go. So that's in the first house,
All right.
going right to left because it's a system it was born in Arabic culture. Okay, and then we have 1, 4, 1, 1. So that's 1, 2, 1, 1. So that's the figure of Puella, which is associated with Libra. In Latin, that just means the girl, or thematically means like harmony. So we got Via as the first one. That's so that's like the active symbol for Cancer or the moon. Puella. I'm not sure if I should write all these in because that might take too long. But okay, the next one is 3, 6, 2, 5. So that's what, 1,
I
2.
knew it would be 3625.
Oh no. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 2, 1. So that's Carcer, associated with Capricorn. It tends to mean like isolation. Uh, yeah, I'll just write them in for the first 4.
Okay.
And then the last one is 2, 3, 8, 2. So that's 2, 1, 2, 2. And that's Rubeus, which means like passion. And it's associated with Scorpio. Um, okay, so that's how that looks on there. That's the four mothers, the mother figures for the chart. And then we read across. So the top line for each of them is 1, 1, 1, 2. And in the little square here, you can actually see it as, so there's the fire line, little fire symbol. Just read them across like that. So 1, 1, 1, 2. That's Cauda Draconis, which is the tail of the dragon, the south node.
Mm.
Um, oh, I said I wasn't gonna write them. Okay. And okay, the next one is 1, 2, 2, 1, Carcer again, Capricorn. And it is, I think it is, as long as an astrologer, you kind of keep the significations separate, it does make a lot of sense to just translate each geomantic figure when you're learning
Mhm.
into a sign. It's very similar to the 12 signs of the zodiac. The main difference is that there's 2 figures each for the sun and the moon. So there's like an active sun and a passive sun, an active moon and a passive moon. And there's also 2 geometric figures for the nodes. Um, so that gives you 16. Okay, and the next one is 1, 1, 2, 2. That's for Fortuna Minor. That's like the lesser fortune, which is kind of like uh it's very similar to like in Lenormand cards, you get like the clover card. It's like a little bit of luck. And it's associated with swiftness. So something fast.
See, I'm taking my divination like a champ.
Sorry, I'm probably saying a lot. This is more than I would be saying in a normal reading because I would just
So you're explaining what you're doing, which we appreciate.
okay, cool. Okay, and then the last one here we got the Cauda Draconis again, the tail of the dragon.
Come on, it's my job to harass you. Yeah.
Oh, we love it. Okay, so and let me just finish drawing out
He's
this.
drawing in the circle part right now.
Here we go. And I do all this by hand. I really like a notebook that has like a dotted grid because that kind of helps me draw it, but it doesn't have to look super pretty. This is a very functional. I think it's good to make things look pretty, but it's not always necessary. Okay.
Function, not fashion, Graham.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're gonna add them together. So we got the first 2. So those coming together, 1 and 1 makes 2, 1 and 2 makes 1, 1 and 2 makes 2, and 1 and 2 makes 2. So if you can see on the video, you've got Via and Puella combined to make Rubeus, which is the one we also have up here as well.
We got two Rubeus.
And I'm just going to go through these a little bit quicker.
Okay, we have 5 minutes.
Okay, 1-1-2-1. 2-1-1-1. 2-2-1-2. That's always my favorite one. When all this comes up, I kind of think it's like a goblet upturned. It's like you kind of say, "Hey, cheers!" You know, like we're having peace. And then if you have Rubeus, it's like a goblet overturned. It's like, oh, we're going to war.
Oh,
You know.
no. It really does depend on the day around here.
Yeah,
I don't know. It depends on the topic.
Okay, so we got all 12, and now we're gonna do the courtroom. So I love the kind of like the left witness, right witness, and the judge. It's very similar to like if you're doing like a horror involving like a legal matter. The prosecution is the first house, the defense is the seventh house, the 10th house is the judge. You know, it's a very similar idea. And I have to think, I don't know, but I have to think that when geomancy was created, that was kind of like maybe part of it. Was we have two parties with a conflict, and they need one judgment to kind of like reunite them. I don't know. It's a very kind of archetypal process. Okay, so let's see, 1, 2, 2, 1, and 2, 1, 2, 1. Okay, so we got the right witness is Carcer, left witness is Acquisitio, which remember we were going to look for that. So that's like Sagittarius. That's about gain and profit. That's what you want when you're doing a chart about a business. And combining them together is 1, 1, 2, 2. Okay. So yeah, the judge figure in this chart is Fortuna Minor. So that's the kind of passive figure for Leo or the sun. And usually that means there's something really good. It's sort of like an external good. Like they may have something really kind of wonderful happen from that. It'll tend to come fast. So it may be a kind of thing where it's like, you know, like when you have a certain transit and it's like, you know, like a trine or a sextile, and it's like you kind of have to go get it. You know, it's like it's an opportunity. So yeah, I think so. The way I would read this, here, I'm just going to write in the witnesses and the judge.
So the question is, how can Moira thrive in 2025?
Okay, so going from Carcer, one way to read this would be as like past, present, future.
Okay.
So if the past is Carcer, so maybe like a straightened kind of like financial situation, and then Acquisitio is the future, which is like gain and profit and success. Yay. You know, what's the thing that kind of unites them together in the moment that will kind of get transition from one to the other? Fortuna Minor. So I don't think what I think this is describing is something very kind of like soulful and kind of like Leo coded. You know, but in you know, but it's not about doing a big massive thing, like you don't have to build a building or something, you know, it's something small. So I think maybe yeah, I guess I would follow this reading up with like a different question that's like a little more specific. But you can also take, so if someone wants to like, if you're watching along,
you got 1 minute.
okay, you can screenshot that if you want, or see it. So I would take this reading because there's one dot at the top of the judge figure. I would read that line up to where does that one dot originate? And that's kind of the fun part of binary is you can go back up. So you go back from Fortuna Minor to Carcer, up to Beware in the ninth house, up to Carcer in the third house. So I would say the past issue, the thing that needs to be transformed is something that's like a third house issue. So maybe there's something about technology or something about like sort of like day-to-day processes. I would read that as like ultimately that would be if you're trying to make a change in the business, the place to focus on is any kind of third house thing.
It's probably
So-
how I communicate with people.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah, I did get in trouble for saying some shit. All right, well, that's a good place to stop. Thank you so much, Graham, for coming and doing geomancy with us. Graham's new to Portland, and so we are so excited to have him here. If you want to contact Graham, how does that work, Graham?
Sure. Right now, my only presence is Instagram. I have my Instagram is Astrologram, spelled Graham. And yeah, I'm here in Portland. Hit me up.
Astrologram. Like if you need an astrologram to come to your house and give you some divination.
Like a candygram. It won't blow up, I promise.
Yeah, totally. All right, well, thank you, Graham. I hope to see you on the Facebook page, and we will see more of you soon. Maybe you can tell us about Lenormand cards someday. All right.